Hello, Lightworkers. Welcome back to our channel. Today we wanted to talk about what does channeling mean to you? Since all of us are really natural channelers, what does that mean to you? So we do a grounding as a group before we start the show. When we were doing that, I felt my highest self sink into my body, which also helps me ground. When I channel, I usually have my highest self connected to me in some way because my highest self is right above me and is connected to everything else. So my highest self came in right away. And then if I want to connect with an angel or something, I usually need to have that intention to connect to an angel or connect to source or anything you're choosing to connect to. But typically my highest self is the first thing that comes in and I feel is sort of a bridge to everybody else.
For me, I imagine myself like an antenna that picks up radio waves, if you will. Well, I have to be in the right space of mind. And for me, it sounds like intuition, sometimes that still voice in your head. It sounds kind of like your own, but it isn't quite. The first energies that I connect with, I call them my friends. I collectively call them my team. But my friends. Sometimes I don't even have names for them. But for many of them, I do. But I know it's one of them. It's either an angel or my spirit guides. Several of them. How do I know which one's which? It's just the way that they phrase sentences or use particular words. Fun fact, my dragon guide will call me little one. He's the only one that calls me that, so I know it's my dragon guide. But if I'm anxious or fearful, just not really stable place where there's just too many emotions going on, I still hear them. It's just it's not coming through as clearly. And so I have to center myself first or ground, and then it comes in a lot clearer. So that's my team, I guess.
Go ahead, Robyn.
You go.
Okay. So when I channel, I will ground first, and I think that's the most important part. What I do is I will raise my consciousness. So I visualize my consciousness leaving and just going up, 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 up through the earth into the galaxy and up even higher and higher and higher. And that way I'm connecting with the higher realms. Just like you, Toma, if I'm not in the right mood or in the right space, I just can't bring myself to do it. So that's what I do. I connect. I will make the intention to connect with whoever it is that I want to connect with, if it's my higher self or if it's an angel or one of my guides. It's almost like this voice in my head, like you said, Toma, like your own voice, but different, and different beings sound differently. And that's just how I do it.
I think for me, I've had this inner guidance for my whole life. Like I remember as a child, certain things would come to me. For instance, just walking down the street one day with about 6 or 7 with a friend. And it was like, okay, we need to cross the street right now. So let's go across the street. And then coming up behind us, there was a car that was towing a trailer, and the trailer unhitched, and there was an accident right where we were walking. So this happens a lot to me, like avoiding accidents. So I got a lot of guidance where it's sort of like a need to know basis. That's what I felt when I was growing up. But now it's coming in more and more, especially when I'm in the creative realm for me. And I consider that it could even be at the gym, it could be when I'm cooking, it could be while I'm designing something on the computer. And about 5 years ago, I realized I made the connection that as I was designing something for a family member, the ideas were dropping in through my crown chakra. And it was a huge revelation for me. I called my daughter. I was like, oh my God, Courtney, you'll never believe it. The ideas come through us. They're not from us. They're through us. And then I realized that's how it's happened for everyone, you know, especially all the scientists and mathematicians that come up with their theories. It's just passing through them. So as things started progressing for me, I would feel a lot of energies around me. That sense of I feel an energy's close, and I try and tap in then to who's there and what the message is. But I have to sort of quiet my mind to actually get it, and then I pick up what's coming through for me. So quite often when I'm designing, I feel it especially. As Ava says, it's divine designs.
She does create divine designs. Yeah. For me, I see channeling as tuning into a frequency that may be different than your baseline frequency. And everything is indeed energy. And there's a lot of energies constantly around us. And the visual light spectrum on the electromagnetic spectrum is such a small percentage of all the energies. I mean, you could even think of radio waves. You don't see those generally, or gamma rays, microwaves. There's all these different frequencies that we pick up on, but we don't often see or are cognizant of it. And something that we learned with Kristin Davies was that we are all channeling. Everybody is always channeling. And it's whether you are consciously channeling or unconsciously channeling. And that was groundbreaking for me to learn, because especially if you're more sensitive, which you probably are if you're watching this, picking up on a lot of energies. And if you're not as conscious of it, can take that in as your own and think that that is your energy. And so a lot of it is, like Toma was saying, an antenna. We're all basically antennas picking up on information. And so I also find if I'm in a bit of a funky mood, I'm not going to try to channel, because we pick up on the vibration that we are matching to. So it's important to really raise your vibration, raise your frequency, and intend to connect with higher vibrational energies, because there's a lot of energies going around. And also to dispel any fear. Some people have some fear about that. And really, it is a law of the universe that if there's an energy in your space that you do not want in your space, you have the sovereignty to let it know that it cannot be there. And so oftentimes we may specifically connect to a certain being or your higher self or your guides or a guardian angel. And then sometimes we'll just raise your frequency and see what comes through. And so I also have the practice of really grounding my energy and envisioning this divine cosmic energy coming through my crown chakra. And so that's what channeling is. And it really is divine, because you can tap into all of this network of information and beings, and it's like a cosmic internet. I mean, it's just endless what you can receive, basically. And so that's a big part of, I think, why I love and we love doing this, is because you can really connect to so many different things and get lots of different insight. And it feels very natural to me, especially after learning that we're all channeling, and just to be more conscious of it. Because when I was more unconscious of it, I would constantly pick up on energies, not really knowing what's going on. And that's why it's also important to have that stillness and space and quiet your mind so you can get clear messages. But it's something that's accessible to everybody.
I was going to say something as you were talking, Ava. I know you and Toma and Kristin, you said that it's hard for you to channel when you're not in a good place. So I have grown to the point where when I do feel like that, when I go with the intention of connecting to my highest self, that I can break free from that. So my highest self comes back to me and will tell me, find your light, or they will say, go within and raise your vibration. And they have taught me in the past how to do that. So when she says that, I know what she means. So I know to go within, and anybody can do this. You go within, it's almost like you're visualizing your heart chakra, and there's a light spark in there, and you visualize it growing, and then you visualize it growing and growing and growing into your whole body, and then radiating your whole body. And eventually it had gotten to the point where last year I started doing this because they were telling me how to do it. And now it's gotten to the point where if I go in and try to channel with them, I call my highest self them, because she always says them because there's more than others with her. She'll say, okay, you're basically telling me your light's too low. Let's raise your vibration. So I think it's helpful to get to know your highest self, what your highest self feels like, and connect frequently, because by doing that, you will naturally learn to raise your own vibration easily, even if you're feeling low.
I had a similar experience, Angie, where I was giving my power away to somebody else, and I was relying on somebody to do something, and it was very firm. Stay in your power. I was like, okay. So the message came across loud and clear when it needed to be there.
Yeah, I think that's a really great idea. I'm going to start practicing that. Thank you, Angie. I want to say too, Ava, thanks for bringing up about the conscious and unconscious channeling, because ever since I was a little girl, I've had so many experiences that I didn't know what they were. And, you know, it's, you get those ideas popped in your head and you don't know where it came from, or you hear a voice and you don't know where it came from. And just the weird synchronicities that happen all the time. And like you said, Robyn, like you get this idea of, and then you find out if you would have went that way, you would have gotten into an accident or something like that. Yeah. That kind of stuff happens all the time. And everybody has the ability to do it. It's not just certain people. It's every single person.
Many people will call it intuition. Like, oh, I was thinking about that friend and I was about to call her and look who's calling me now at the same time, right? It's that same person I was just thinking about. We call it intuition, but it's really channeling, isn't it? Unconscious channeling. Yep. Angie, when you were talking earlier of when you're having this difficult day or you're having all these emotions and maybe you were having difficulty making that connection with our team, sort of connect with your higher self more and invite more of your higher self in towards you, in you. It's like imagine a cord or a rope between yourself and the higher self, like pull on that cord, invite more of your higher self inside your body. I find that it helps me to get through some of the difficult emotions.
Yeah, and I wonder if everybody understands who their higher self is. Your highest self is always a part of you. It's a matter of how much of your higher self you want to bring into you. So you really want to connect all the time with your highest self, because your highest self is your spirit, is your soul that is way bigger than your 3D body. The highest self is always connected to the universe, to the other planes of multidimensional places. So to bring that into you helps you to ground to what is authentic for you, because that is your highest self, who knows a lot more than our 3D ego minds allow us to understand. And so it breaks that barrier between your ego and your multidimensionality. And that's why I call her like a bridge to everything. And so as soon as you can connect, like I literally can ground and feel her go into me, and my body starts twitching. Like I start getting twitches. It's almost like my vibration has instantly raised.
That's a really good segue to a question I was going to ask is, how do you receive information? Because we know about the clairs and that could be different for everybody. So what are some ways, or if somebody wants to speak about the different clairs that you receive that information?
I receive my information Clairaudience. That's like my main one. It's like I hear it, but it's not an external voice. It's that voice in your head, but it's not your voice. And that's my strongest clair. And I also Clairsentience with the feeling. I just get that feeling in my body.
I've experienced I think I've experienced all of the clairs. Some are stronger than others. But what I like often to receive are the images within the third eye, where you get a picture. And a few weeks ago, I first started auto-typing. I call it auto-typing, which is what automatic writing traditionally. But I'm not one to pick up a journal and start writing my thoughts in a journal. I go to the computer, and that's probably has to do with my design background. And I'm more comfortable for that as a tool. I was getting some energy with regards to Angie coming through, a question I had. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go on my computer. I'm going to do this. And it started flowing out onto the keyboard just from my head automatically. But I also got images. And this happened with all four of, with the five, with all the team members. With Kristin, I got a message for Kristin, something for Toma, something for Ava, and also Angie's message. So to me, that was remarkable that I had that experience, and it was so magical as well. So, and I'm very strong in my Clairsentience also, Kristin, so I have that in common with you. Clairaudience seems to be on a need to know, like when you're really, like I'll hear it really strong. And then there's the intuitive voice that's there. But I also sense the energies around me, and the first energy that I was picking up on was Jesus or Yeshua. So I could feel his energy so close, and that was remarkable to me, that I could have that sense. And he was coming up on my back, and he really makes you emotional because you realize what energy is with you, and there's so much love and compassion and comfort in that. And then I picked up on the different archangel energies as well. So there are different energy signatures, almost like large pixelation, like if you could imagine that being a feeling. So that comes in different forms.
I would say my two strongest ones would be the image ones. So what is that, Claire, called?
Clairvoyance.
That's clairvoyance.
Yeah.
So I'm so bad with
They're just labels.
Yep.
Right.
So pretty good images, but that's just my normal strong suit in life anyway. So I think they play off of it. Like I read books a lot, or I used to, so it's pretty easy for me to visualize that. So they just kind of like, okay, well, it's easy for you, so let's play by your rule of books. And then Clairaudience, they speak a lot to me in songs. So I wake up and there's a song on and on and on and on. It's like, what does that mean? Oh, gotta listen to the words, to the lyrics. Oh, well, that makes sense. So a lot of songs. So I think those two are my favorite and the strongest one at the moment. And just wanted to share a personal note. I've been hearing a lot about automatic writing, and I'm like, I don't know about that one. I mean, how do you just start writing stuff? I mean, I don't know how this works. I mean, I guess you have to do it, but I don't know how I feel about it. So a little while ago, I was getting a message from my higher self, from my team, that I needed more healing, and they weren't very specific. And then Angie came in within a couple of days saying, she heard a message from me, I needed more healing, but they weren't very specific other than gave me a name. And I'm like, I don't know who this person is. I asked my mom, hey, do we have this person in our family? No, we don't. I'm like, okay, this has to be from a past life or something. So I've been practicing a bit of a Akashic Records reading. I did that, and I could see such clear pictures as if a full movie was playing out. I'm like, this is kind of amazing. So I figured out who this person was that Angie got a name for me. And the message for me from my higher self at the time was I needed to write myself a letter to my inner child. I'm like, I mean, it sounds legit, but how do I do that? And what do I put in there? And I knew I had to write. So I've been delaying it for a couple of days. And just one day I just sat down, and I did not mean to sit down and write anything other than hello, dearest self. And as soon as I put that, I really put hello, inner child of Toma. And I'm like, that's it. That's all I'm going to put, that first line of opening. That's all I'm going to do. And then I'm going to walk away and then maybe come back in a day or two. That's not what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It started flowing so fast that in 2 to 3 minutes, I filled the entire page back to front in 2 to 3 minutes. It went that fast. I was hardly keeping up. And it was just, I mean, what was it? It was just a letter of love to the inner child. I'm like, this is amazing. So I went and reread it back yesterday, and I was, into some other, I don't know what problem I was having yesterday, but I'm like, I'm reading it from like a different angle, the same message, but a different angle. And I'm like, oh my God, this touches my heart again. So guys, if you feel like trying this automatic writing, if this kind of calls to you, whether in typing or writing or drawing, or sit down and let the pen flow or your ideas flow. It just came so naturally and effortlessly. It was as if it was waiting to just come out. It was amazing.
One of the ways that I receive information is Claircognizance, and that just means a clear knowing. So you sort of know something, you don't know how you know it. And also clairvoyance and clairsentience. So we all have these, and we have our stronger suits, and oftentimes children are very connected with this. And then as we sort of grow older and we build experiences and ego, we might get disconnected, but children have what we hear of imaginary friends. And so this is something we do all have access to, and it's just a matter of practicing and listening to it. And what about you, Angie?
When I first originally started getting information, I didn't know. So it was just like an automatic channeling, I feel like, because it was a Claircognizance. And so I would just blurt things out and be like, I don't know where that just came from. And so now that I've grown into that, I've realized that that's what it is. And so I follow it more. So the little nudges I get, like the cognizance, it's the Claircognizance. I just follow them because sometimes it does just come out. And it happens a lot still, even though I'm more aware of it now, especially if I'm helping somebody else. But I get all the other clairs as well. But Claircognizance is probably my strongest.
So in a future episode, we will address more on the clairs and also some tips for channeling.
Yeah, I feel like we could go on more and more. So if anybody has any other, like questions or things you would like to hear us talk about or channel, let us know. So if you like our channel, please like it, share it, subscribe, and push the little bell so you get the notification that we've dropped a new video, and come back and see us. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.